All right, all right, all right. Buffs fans, college football fans, Wildcat fans, Huskies fans, Crimson Tide fans. I hope all y'all are coming in here. Um, I got to get this off my chest, guys. I got to get this off my chest. Hit that like, let me know what your thoughts are as well. But man, I'm really sick of just seeing the same narratives uh, perpetuated by teams fans every single coaching hire. It's like the same thing, and it's like none of us understand how this thing goes at this point, guys, right? I mean, I can tell you exactly how this happens to a T. A coach comes into a team. A coach then builds up that team to be better than people expected or faster than people expected, right? That coach then gets an offer to go to another school with bad timing because that team was in the college football playoff or playing a New Year's Six bowl game, whatever. They then leave late when guys have already signed their early national letters of intent in December. Transfers have already committed, and it sets the whole college football world into a crazy frenzy. But then you see the fans that are saying, this guy's a snake. This guy, he's leaving terribly. He was preaching that he was here for the long haul. He was preaching loyalty and family, and this guy is betraying everybody. He's a total snake. And then you see fans of that school just wanting this coach to fail at wherever he is going next. He is then hated. He is then villainized, and all of this stuff. And it, guys, like, it's happened to see you too. I did it with Mel Tucker, right? All this, but at the end of the day, man, this thing is business. This thing is business. The NCAA has allowed this thing to get thrown out of whack, and really, I think the root issue of it is having the college football calendar, in a sense, like when you can bring guys into school or not. It has to line up with uh, these semesters starting and ending. That's really the root of the issue, is that the calendar is all messed up because of these classes. That really, how many of these student athletes really care about this? But I'm just sick of the narrative about how, like, I see it with all the time. Like, hey, like, these guys are, they preach family and they're betraying all these kids. And I feel bad for the kids and whatever. It's like, man, the kids can still go wherever they want. But when you're building a team, when you're building a business or an organization, I've been part of more corporate type roles. I've been part of more startup type environments throughout my career. And it's like the same thing. Like, people try and preach building a family, building continuity, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we all know what this is. We know that this is a business agreement, and you got to look after yourself first. Priority numero uno. That's exactly what it is. So you can't be surprised when you see players hopping in the transfer portal, or when you see coaches offered 2 to 3 times their salary that they're making right now. Yes, you might have been talking about a contract extension, but there are always scenarios in which these coaches will leave for other opportunities, just like you would leave for other jobs if they were offering you 2 to 3 times your salary. Ain't nobody's holding themselves back from making a better salary doing the same job, because they want guys to feel good, or because of family and all this other stuff, man. I mean, this whole thing is just ridiculous. So did I lead with a little bit of the clickbait title on this? Absolutely. But this whole thing just, man, it just pisses me off. And it really pisses me off because that means fans, man, they're not grateful for anything that's happened. And I think college football fans, I know this isn't how the reality should be, right? This isn't how it should be, where, because Nick Saban retires, okay, in January, all these coaching changes are happening super late. All these, like, I understand being pissed, right? I understand being pissed, but this is how the game works right now. This is how the game works right now. And you're better off preparing yourself for whenever a coach is brought in. I mean, I do it with Coach Prime too. I'm hoping that he's a lifer here at Colorado, or that he coaches here a long time here in Colorado. I would love for this to be his home. But in the back of my mind, just like I have with other coaches, man, is that there's going to be scenarios in which they will want to leave. There's probably only a few schools in all of college football, maybe on just one hand, that you can say they'll never have to worry about a coach leaving them to go for another opportunity. Hey, and if you can prepare yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead of time, that, hey, that coach is probably just going to leave with terrible timing, you're better off for it, man. This is exactly how the game works. And I get really sick of fan bases seeing this happen over and over and over and over in college football. But then when it happens to them, they're reacting the same way, like it was just the first time they've seen this happen before, and they're getting all upset. And then they're saying, this isn't a person of character. This guy has no ethics. Man, don't hit me with that. If I got offered a job for twice my salary right now, I don't care how many friends I have at my work. You can see me later. Okay? That's just it. I do think, though, that there are some ways in which that we can solve this from a college football standpoint. Number one is taking a look at Canada with how they work with the major juniors in junior hockey. From my understanding, this is how it works. For every year that you play in major junior hockey, you then earn a year of tuition paid for when you want to go back and focus on your academics, because you're focusing on hockey as a major junior amateur hockey player, okay? I would love it. Hey, let's just call it what it is, man. All these guys come to play college football. None of them really want to focus on classes, right? So why don't we just have them work primarily on football for that whole year? They can take classes if they want during the season, during the off season, whatever, but leave it as optional. And when for every year that you play in college football, you earn, a year of tuition at that school or whatever. Now, of course, there's a lot of technicalities to work out with how does this work with transfers and all of that, but that's just kind of the general idea. So when you're done playing, if you don't make it pro, hey, go back to school. It's already paid for. This is when your scholarship really is realized, so to speak. And then you're devoting all of your attention towards that, right? Right now, it's like kids are coming in. They're kind of getting a watered down education, to some extent, because they are brought in to prioritize football. Football is their main job. And I think if, college football would just call it what it is and saying like, hey, we're a training ground, we're a minor league system for the NFL. You come in here, you focus on football while you're on campus, you earn credits that you can redeem later once your career in football is over at our university to then earn that degree. I think that's great. That's what my understanding of what they do in Canada for major junior league hockey. And I think that's totally fine. Now, how does that work out with private institutions and all that? I don't know. But that's just the general idea of it, because the calendar's so screwed up. The reason you have coaches hurrying and, transfers, moving on really quickly and all this stuff is because of how screwed up the academic calendar is right now. It doesn't line up with, the bowl season, because the bowl season's extended and the regular season, all this stuff. If you eliminate let me restart that. If you eliminate the need to be there, when the academic season starts, then this stuff gets a lot more flexible and it's a little bit easier, less chaotic to figure out. But I really do feel like the calendar causes a lot of issues with this, because guys need to be in class. They need to be on campus by a certain date in order to be practicing in the spring. I think it would just be great if they finalized this whole thing like a football calendar, similar to how you have it with the NFL, where there are certain periods for certain things. And I think you would see a lot less of this chaos happen at the end of bowl seasons. I mean, it's unfortunate when it happens, especially now with these free transfers happening. You could be like Arizona, to where you could potentially lose all your good players along with your coach now. And that's really unfortunate. When we lost Mel Tucker at the end of 2019, yes, we had some guys transfer out, but we really had to wait a little bit before the entire gutting of the roster took place. But I just think it's so crazy, man, how um, it's like once these guys leave, they are enemy numero uno. When at the end of the day, everybody complaining about this is a total hypocrite because they would be taking triple, double, triple their salary to do the same job, just like all these other guys would. Okay. That's just what it is. It just pisses me off. So I'm going to keep this a little short, but at the end of the day, this isn't ideal for anybody. It's not ideal for Arizona, the institution. It's not ideal for the athletes, the players, and it's not ideal for the coach, man, to have to deal with all this stuff. And you got transfers and recruits and all that. Because if we were able to finalize like a new college football seasonal calendar, right, you wouldn't have coaches leaving after guys have signed to play. Yeah. So, oh yeah. To sum this up, Jedd Fisch isn't a snake. Kalen DeBoer isn't a snake. Mel Tucker's still a snake because you don't have to be saying the night before that you're here, that you're committed to CU. But I understand why they say that, right? You can't really come out and say that, hey, you're throwing your name out there for other opportunities. That's just what happens. Same with the Oregon State coach. A lot of people are mad at him for everything that he's done. You guys are playing in the Mountain West for the next 2 years at least. I mean, what did you expect him to do? Okay. Like, you can't be too mad. And you just got to realize that coaches are going to lie about that stuff. Okay. Or they're going to say they're one way while they're negotiating other things in the background. That's just how the game has to be played at this point. Is it sleazy? Yes, but it's necessary. Okay. It's just necessary. So I mean, credit to Coach Prime, man, for doing it the way that he did it. Moving out of Jackson State. Some people are mad about the way that he left, whatnot. It's at the end of the day, there's never going to be a pretty exit when you're leaving from one job to the next. But I think given how we've seen other coaches do it in their timing, it was better than a lot of them. But at the end of the day, you would do the same thing. So can we all just stop being hypocrites? All right, I'll take a few of your questions, then I'll get out of here. I think Arizona is going to hire from within to keep the team together. I hope they do that, Charles Muhammad. I would love to see that. And what's kind of funny is that I think Jedd Fisch might be the most successful coach or the best coach to come out of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Either him or Bill O'Brien, right? Going to be interesting to watch. But I am a fan of continuity. I do hope that they promote from within. It makes the Buffs' chances at a Big 12 title definitely easier with Arizona losing Jedd Fisch. But it's a bummer if you can't pay to match those offers, which right now it's been reported that, I mean, their athletic department's like over $200 million in debt. I don't even understand how you get to that point. But this was inevitable at some point. If it wasn't going to be Washington, it was going to be Florida. Who is looking like the bust defensive coordinator? Got no idea, Mike. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe Ken Norton Jr. at this point. I still want Jim Leonard. I have no idea. Al Harris. Dennis. The same ones who are criticizing Fisch would do the same thing. Whether us Big 12 fans like it or not, the Big 10 and the SEC is a serious upgrade. No doubt. No doubt. That's why, again, I want Coach Prime to stay here for a long time, man. I really do. But I would imagine, that he continues to be more and more successful. There's going to be other really hard offers to turn down. I hope he does turn them down. But again, guys, like, you're not going to find somebody that's salty and bitter if Coach Prime were to ever move on to another opportunity, unless it was at Nebraska or like a Big 12 rival. Then I would hate it. But jumping up to one of those top two conferences, like you said, Dennis, it makes sense for Jedd Fisch to do that. Makes sense for Kalen DeBoer to jump over to Alabama. Like it makes sense. And we would do the same thing if given that opportunity. David, y'all have literally escaped getting them hands from Arizona this upcoming season with Fisch leaving Arizona. Yes, we had something break in our favor. No doubt. Jedd Fisch is a very, very good coach. Oh, man. 33. You're right, David talks about the student athletes are limited on the classes they can take for their majors. Yes. And, no program's going to admit to this, but, they get that they don't get the full classroom experience, right? They're having tests taken for them at certain programs or in certain classes. They're allowed to skip certain things. They're allowed to make up work at certain point. They're having tutors help them out with stuff. I'm not saying everybody does that. No, but I'm saying, like, if you look at probably the quality of learning that they have, it's probably not the best because at the end of the day, they're not brought in to prioritize school. That's how I feel about it. Yes, getting the degree is important, but they're there for football. What's up, William Barry? Do you think Sapp is going to have a problem getting approved to coach through the NCAA? Maybe that's the holdup. Maybe it's not a CU holdup. Maybe it's an NCAA holdup. I have no idea. But anybody saying that, like, let me rephrase that. CU's had other coaches on the staff with history before. So, this isn't the first time like something like this has popped up. I have no idea what is happening. We're just going to have to see where this goes. I would love Warren Sapp to be here to coach, but if he's not, I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think that we can find another really effective coach. Like I really do. I don't doubt the Coach Prime network. So if we lose him, it's kind of like recruiting. All right, and like on to the next. I think I just get a little frustrated that this thing was kind of announced and put out there like it was official, like for all of us to believe, right? Yeah, Surfer, you're right. If people think these guys are snakes, someone else is too, but I I digress. Exactly. You can literally say this, Surfer Boy, about pretty much every coach that has left one school for another opportunity. Okay? Okay? That's so true. It's always messy, and you just gotta understand when your coach leaves, if they're not fired, it's gonna be messy. Absolutely. That's just the reality of this sport. It is heartless right now, and it is ruthless, and it is cutthroat. Um, but I just hate seeing all this on Twitter, man. And it's like all these schools, they just lose appreciation for what their coach has done during that time. Like they did their job when they were like Jonathan Smith did his job for the years he was employed at Oregon State. Kalen DeBoer did that at Washington too. Jedd Fisch did that at Arizona. Like these guys are good coaches. Yes, they preach family, they preach values and all this stuff, but the workplace does too. And it's not it's not like those guys are really your family, right? You're leaving once you get a better offer. You're leaving once you get a promotion from another place, right? Like, why are we so quick to villainize all these guys? William Barry thinks the DC is still coaching. Maybe it is Al Harris. Again, guys, I got no idea. But if the person comes with that, NFL experience, I'm going to be very excited, no doubt. But I think that that's something to read into, William, that if it still hasn't been announced while the NFL playoffs are going on every week, right? Maybe this person really is on a roster somewhere. Now, on a coaching roster somewhere. Now, some people would say, well, if you can't bring in your entire staff, is that an issue? That happens less in college football, I feel. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you have the ability to bring in a couple assistants or so that of your choosing, but it's never like, hey, defensive coordinators coming in here getting to pick all their guys. I don't really think that happens much, but I do hope that whoever's brought in here in DC, if he wants to make some changes, he can. Absolutely. But man, I'm fine. I'm fine with Jim Leonard, Mike Zimmer, Raheem Morris, all those guys. I mean, I would be thrilled. Um, we'll see what happens with the defensive line, but there are a lot of guys that can coach. We could poach from other schools. We could go grab some other snakes, bring them to here, right? We'll just have to see. It's got to be because he pled guilty to 2 counts that I don't want to mention that can eliminate you from coaching NCAA college ball easy. If it's able to be expunged, then he can. Okay, I didn't know he pled guilty to some of those charges. I know with some of the coaches that we've had in the past, there was never a guilty verdict with some of those things. And I remember again, it's just unfortunate. When Vance Joseph was hired here as the Denver Broncos head coach, being a CU guy, some of like his legal issues. Again, it's like, oh, Vance Joseph's hired here. We're going to bring this up about his baggage from 20, 30 years ago or whatever. And, Hugh Freeze talking about how much he loves Jesus. And we're just going to ignore how much he loves, strippers and escorts. Having coached at, Liberty, the big evangelical university, there's totally a double standard with this. I feel like when it comes to Black coaches getting their opportunity, there is definitely more of a microscope from the media as a whole. And they seem to turn a blind eye sometimes to white coaches' baggage. Or like, who is that guy from Arkansas? Was it Bobby Petrino? Right? You know, um, it's unfortunate. It really is. I hope Warren Sapp is able to um, work things out in a way in which he's able to start his coaching career. Um, but I'm just bummed, dude, that I feel like, why are we announcing it, man, if this whole thing wasn't approved? That's just kind of like it's got me coaching blue balls, man. Can't just get all excited and then you take it away from me. RG3 is pushing for Coach Prime to coach Dallas. Man, again, I can't see Deion Sanders, Coach Prime taking that job because Jerry wants a yes man. Okay. Now, if there was a scenario in which Coach Prime does take that job to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, tomorrow, am I going to start a video calling him a snake on here? No, I'm not. But I'm wondering where the hell we go with in terms of coaching opportunities. I don't know. This roster's still talented, so I think we could poach another coach for sure. But you're not going to find me, being filled with sour grapes on this channel. 27-0. What are we talking about, K Vizzy? 27-0. What are we talking about, man? I'm missing your hint. 2015. That was forever ago. That Hugh Freeze situation was terrible, and he gets a new gig at Liberty where the president of the school was a total cuck. Yeah. And yeah, he gets another gig at Auburn, right? But Auburn didn't even want to give Coach Prime an opportunity, right? They'd much rather go with a true hypocrite, somebody like Hugh Freeze, right? And I just want to say, I want to get this out of the way. I've seen some trolls in here already saying, "Hey, Shador and Travis, or Shador and Shiloh weren't at the optional team meeting yesterday. It was optional. It was optional. They got to go ahead and secure those Louis Vuitton CU Buff uniform collaborations, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm hoping that Louis Vuitton pattern on the bus uniforms, wouldn't that be cool? People just love to make some BS up. Now, if this was a mandatory thing, then I have an issue with it, but dude, it is what it is. I don't really care too much. It's the off season. It's the off season. Yeah, they said it was optional. Like, y'all need to just chill out. And it's cool. Louis Vuitton, going to Paris, all that stuff is cool. Go ahead and do it. Travis wasn't at the meeting, and he might have been ice fishing out here, for all I know, right? But I just think the double standard, man. Like, it's not even a question that Urban Meyer could get another college job if he wanted to, right? You know, it's crazy. Viral authority. Look, I got your name right. Arizona would have gotten beat whether Jedd the Snake stayed or not. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. We still need some more boys on the defensive line and maybe another offensive tackle. But I saw that their running back Coleman, the guy that tore us up, man, he entered the transfer portal. Let's go get him. Let's go get him. I don't care who else we got in the room. That guy's a beast. He's probably better than all the guys we got. Yeah. Shador and Shiloh modeling for the Pharrell Louis Vuitton clothing line on January 17th in Paris. I never thought anybody from the University of Colorado would ever be in a Louis Vuitton fashion show in Paris. The Prime effect. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Everybody in the NCAA is wanting Coach Prime to fail, and they know if Sapp joins, it's a wrap. Maybe. I mean, I love it. I love it, Bodie. I think Warren Sapp can coach. Again, Coach Hayes was a big fan of that hire. He says he can coach, but I think the bigger position is just making sure we get DC right, okay? And we need to get this right. We need to get this DC position right. Some people are saying, I trust Coach Prime, yada, yada. I do trust Coach Prime to make a hire. But regardless of, believing in him, all that, he got this offensive coordinator hire wrong for whatever reason. It just didn't work, okay? It was like oil and water. So we need to see this hire get right. And again, I would have loved to see Charles Kelly stick around. But at the end of the day, we were still one of the worst defenses in the NCAA. And I think regardless of who we're hiring, it should be a better result statistically on the field this next year for the Buffs. But yeah, let's go get Coleman. I don't have any loyalty, to the room. I have a loyalty to getting some wins. We haven't had a winning season since 2016. That's what I care about. Hey, Dave, FSU's been hit with 2 penalties. 2-year probation means no bowl game. 1 year, no NIL deals. The booster out for 3 years. Can't come around the program. I'm also wondering if it's related to DJ Lundy. So I believe this stems from an instance where a coach on FSU directly drove a player and or his family to meet with a booster directly for an NIL deal, something like that. And I think that's where these punishments come from. Could it be related to DJ Lundy? Maybe. They also brought in a ton of players, so could have had to deal with one of those other players. I think, again, this is one of those things where I think these types of things happen throughout college football. Florida State, I think, has put a target on their back, though, with them suing everybody and their mother that's attached to college football, and they've kind of made themselves a little bit of a target. That's just really the case. So do I think it's kind of ridiculous for something? It's just like, that meeting could have easily happened without that coach driving them over. Sure, but Florida State's doing themselves no favors with, suing their own conference and then suing the NCAA. And then they're wondering why they're not given the benefit of the doubt to be put in the college football playoff when they're on their third string quarterback, when they're pissing everybody off. I mean, I guess it could be related to DJ Lundy, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of Florida State guys coming back. And, DJ Lundy wasn't the only one. But again, it's like why we need to get this whole thing formalized. We need to get this college football calendar on a different calendar than the academic calendar. And we need to figure out a way in which there's a period, let's after the entire season is over, in which all these uh, free agency and different stuff like that can be figured out. The transfer portal, all this stuff can happen to a way in which it doesn't just disrupt with terrible timing, for these programs. Because at the end of the day, the people who lose the most out of this is really the fans, and you lose the product on the TV and in the stands, very quickly. Obviously, it's bad for some players as well that don't have the luxury of hopping in a portal and joining that coach at their next destination. But again, let's do what major junior hockey does in Canada. Let's just have them come in here, focus on football, and for every year that they play, they then earn a year of tuition at that university, so that when they're done focusing on their first career choice, football, they then can use that credit to go back to school. It's already figured out. How do you figure out the details with the transfer portal and all that, and with private schools? I'll leave the geniuses to figure that out, but that is the ultimate premise. Bring them on, make classes optional for them while they're here to focus on football, and then post-career they can then focus on school fully, and so that way they're not getting a watered down education or anything like that, because they're not having to split their focus between their top priority, which is college football, regardless of what the NCAA and all these college football programs say, and then earning their degree. Yeah, that's correct, Dave. It was in relation to Amarius Mims, our big offensive lineman at UGA. They tried to attract him to come to FSU, and he changed his mind to come back to win a natty at UGA. Makes sense. Makes sense. Dave, what will you do if we make a bowl game for the first time after 20 years? I'm going to try my best to go to that bowl game. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? And heck, I mean, hopefully I will have worked my way up this year and maybe, get like a little press credential for that bowl game. I mean, wouldn't that be pretty cool? I don't really have a desire to be at the press conferences every day or asking guys questions or interviewing players all the time. Like, I don't really care about that. Do I want to interview some guys such as Will Shepherd and some of these other transfers coming in here this offseason? Yeah, man, I think that'd be fun. I would love it. But my focus is putting out content for you guys, getting on here, talking with you guys. But that would be a special occasion in which I would love to go after getting a press credential to cover that bowl game for David Talks Buffs. I think that would be a lot of fun. William Berry saying NCAA wants some payback again. I thought they'd be more satisfied with that playoff snatch, but they're just gunning for more blood. Poor FSU. Their players got hit. That transfer portal. Coming May 1 through the 15th. Yeah. And I was shocked, man. I guess Mike Norvell was lower on the priority list for Alabama, but I would have been gunning for that Alabama job if I were Mike Norvell. But yeah, it would be great to get some of these Arizona players. It's unfortunate that this snowball effect is having to happen right now. It's halfway through January, but it is what it is. Let's keep this thing going. Rawhide, what's up? Yeah, do you think all these fan bases calling Jedd Fisch a snake, calling Kalen DeBoer a snake, all these guys snakes, is just totally hypocritical? Because if you're like me, Rawhide, next company to reach out to me saying, you know what, we're offering you not $50 an hour, we're offering you $100 an hour, I'm going, man. I don't care how much I preach about family at this, at my current gig or whatever, man. I'm taking care of me, numero uno. Yeah, no tank top today. Got the crew neck on. All that. Had a meeting end early, so I was able to hop on here, which was a lot of fun. But man, I just think this whole college football narratives about these coaches, betraying the kids. Give me a break. We know what this is. This is business. And the guys, once you reach the pros, they understand, man, how this thing works. But the NCAA has to fix this calendar issue that's causing all of this. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get back to it. Y'all be sure to tune into Rawhide if he's going live today. DNVR, I think, is live as well, so I'll probably hop in there as I get back to work. All of that. But really appreciate you guys as always. Let's go Buffs.